Hey TNLC, Pastor Clayton here with an update video to give you a little bit more information about our schedule and plans and where we are in our regathering process. Now, anytime a pastor or church leader talks about regathering, they have to make sure to point out that we're regathering and not reopening because the church never closed. We still continue to meet. We've still continued to preach, to worship. We just had to do it in a smaller gathering size than we are used to. And I'll speak to that at the end, but I don't think that that's just cliche to fill in the blanks. A couple weeks ago, we released an update video to let you know about the steps that we had to regathering. And we said when Florida went to phase 1, we were going to take our step 1, which was family gatherings. That's the step that we did take. So a lot of you are watching together in family gatherings, getting together with up to 10 people or 2 to 3 families on Sunday mornings. We said when Florida went to phase 2, we were going to take our step 2, which was to encourage watch parties at various locations. Now, 2 things have altered our plans to be able to do that. Number 1, we have not found very many places who are open for us to be able to rent larger locations. We've been in contact with many of the clubhouses of neighborhoods in the Newport Richey Trinity area, and they're not open or they're not renting yet, so that's kind of derailed some of our plans along those lines. But in addition to that, we all know that over the last week, today is the June 29th, we have seen record-setting numbers of positive tests of COVID-19. Now, I know a couple things. Number 1, there's a statistic for everything. And I don't know if somebody wants to, ICU beds or hospitalizations and blah, blah, blah. Here's what we know. We're seeing record-setting testing. We have to do everything we can. We're not going to be able to eliminate risk. I mean, like every time you get in a car, anytime you do anything, there's always a risk. And so it's not that we're waiting until there is no risk, but we want to be able to mitigate that risk in a wise possible way. Because when you do get in your car to drive around, you put on your seatbelt. Now, it could be a 5-point harness. That could make it even safer. You could wear a helmet. That could be even safer. But there's a level of safety that we get to. We don't just drive around with no seatbelt or, we don't crash test cars, and we just go out with it. We try to figure out where it is in the mitigation of the risk that's acceptable. And right now, with these skyrocketing numbers, I don't think it's the best time for us to be pressing into these watch parties, even if they're at our Challenger location, and all that would be is watching the pre-recorded service. It wouldn't be a live service. Now, we're paying attention, we're looking around, we're trying to listen, and we're trying to make sure we know when that's taking place and when the best time is going to be for that. We don't want to wait too long, and we don't want to move too fast. Because one of the other things that we don't want to do is we don't want to yo-yo back and forth. Now, there are some churches that are open and that are staying open. There are some churches that have made the decision had announced dates and then were pulling back on those dates. I was talking to a pastor friend yesterday who had been open for 2 weeks in a different state. And then because of rising testing numbers, has had to go back to online. And they don't know when they're going to regather again because they don't know what the future holds. We're trying to avoid that yo-yoing back and forth. Number 2, we want to make sure that we are loving and careful for everybody. Number 2, I haven't even been numbering these very well, but just some of the reasons and some of the things that we're at right now. Another reason that's a little hard for us to be encouraging the watch parties here at the Challenger location is because right now masks are mandatory inside in West Pasco County if you're within 6 feet of people. The way that you would be moving around in the building, it would be tough not to have a mask on at all times. When our staff is coming in and out of the building, when they're walking around, when they're sharing an office with someone, they're wearing their mask if they're within 6 feet of someone. Same thing when we're doing our recordings. Those who are not recording on the stage or are within 6 feet of someone are masked up. I put on my mask during a song recording on Thursday night and ended up licking the inside of my mask. I know that's gross sounding, for most of that song because of sucking the air in. Now, my wife says that's because I like to sing really loud, so I take deep breaths, and that's a fair point. I just know that that may not be the worship experience that many people want to have, so I don't know that if we opened up right now, it would have to be mask minimum during the entire, or mask mandatory during the entire service. Another thing that we are kind of waiting on when it comes to gathering back in person. Why don't we just have smaller groups then in person on Sunday mornings rather than watch pre-recorded? As you can see behind me, this is our brand new broadcast studio. What you might have known as the Blue Room doesn't exist anymore and now has been built out to more offices. And so before, where we were on live stream was, hey, it's there, but we didn't really want to make it too awesome because we wanted you to come in person. And now, as we've been doing these online pre-recorded services, we have seen the quality of those broadcasts and the audio, the video, all of that continue to rise. Well, we know that regardless of when we go back into in-person Sunday morning worship services, that not everybody's going to be able to, and not everybody's going to be ready to come with us at that time. And so as we've been building walls, running cables, getting equipment, getting things set up, we're also having to train the people who are starting to use these pieces of equipment and this brand new team. And so we want to take the month of July to give this team the chance to practice on our rehearsal and recording nights so that when we move to an in-person live service on Sunday mornings and we're not pre-recording anymore, again, those who are not ready and those who are not able to come back together in person, their online experience won't fall off a cliff in terms of quality and consistency, but it's going to be much closer to what they have now. So we're trying to get our broadcast team, which has never existed before, up to speed. And if you're interested in being a part of the broadcast team, you can always email us, info@trinitynewlife.com. The other thing I want to continue to encourage you is that you can meet together with other people in family gatherings. We've heard incredible stories of people who have, taken family gatherings when somebody's telling me, then they just turned into a movie marathon and they hung out all day long. Or people who immediately jump into just saying, hey, what stood out to you from the message or the service, that's turned into 25, 35-minute long discussions just around that one question. That's happened at our house during our family gathering. People getting together for a meal, people spending time together and building relationships in these smaller groups. It's not the best thing, perhaps, that we would want, but let's not miss the opportunity that's in front of us to still see God do something great with us. Again, it may not be the perfect thing, it may not be the long-term thing, but that doesn't mean that God doesn't want to use it to do something great in and through us. So that's a little bit of where we are in terms of next steps of regathering. When we put out that first official video, we said that we would really look to move to in-person services when Florida went to phase 3, because the 6-foot minimum distance would be reduced. Florida is unfortunately not close to moving towards that phase 3. We are trying to hold off and go a little bit week to week in the idea of watch parties for a variety of reasons. Still encouraging family gatherings with the people that you feel comfortable with, and those can be very powerful moments. We're trying to get our broadcast team up to speed. So again, when we regather in person live on Sunday mornings, the people who are not ready and not able to gather, their worship experience doesn't fall apart. That's actually going a little bit for our New Life students and New Life kids, making sure that when we come back together, the students and kids who aren't able to gather yet, their experience doesn't fall off either, and they're still a part of TNLC. And we have still been watching and waiting for Florida to move to that phase 3. So that's kind of where we are. I'd love to give you exact dates. I'd love to tell you exactly, here's what's happening. Heck, I feel like I was ready to do that before what happened in this past week. We want to gather together. We want to be together. I miss worshiping and preaching to you and with you. We miss these things together. And so when we're holding off on doing them, it's not because it's the easier thing. It's not because it's the nicer thing. It's not because it's more relaxing for us. It's because we feel like it's the wise way to live right now, to honor God, to understand the authorities that we have in place in our country, to try to follow and understand what's going on, to try to be the most loving, to try to be the most grace-filled, the most merciful. And that would be my encouragement to you as well. Be full of grace right now. Be full of mercy, be full of patience, be full of understanding, be full of humility right now. You want the bingo? These are unprecedented, unforeseen, unheard of times and days and age. And this is an incredibly interesting, difficult time to be a leader of anything. We've never led through this before. We're not exactly sure how it goes. We're not sure what decisions to make, and it's not just those in the church. Talking to other business leaders or community leaders, everyone's not exactly sure what to do, and they want to do the best thing for the people that they love and that they care about, and they're not always sure exactly what that is. And so the people who are having to make choices about what you're going to do with your kids next year when it comes to schooling, or people might be making different decisions than you. They might be going for different reasons than you. They might have a different hesitation and fear level as you. They might have more confidence than you. They might have, a different opinion than you. Let's be full of grace and mercy right now. None of us have been through this. History might tell us how serious or not serious something was or was not. But right now, we need to be people of love, grace, and mercy. We need to be people who don't wait to regather together in large groups before we worship. We don't need to wait to fellowship. We don't need to wait to love, to care, and to reach out to people. All of those things are still available to us right now. That's why we've never closed. That's why we're not reopening, but simply working to regather together in larger numbers. Now, as always, if you have any questions or things that need to be clarified, please email us at info@trinitynewlife.com. We're going to be posting this video as well at trinitynewlife.com/update, where you can find out more information about our community service plans and the things going on in the orbit of TNLC. So I love you guys. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon.